today I just wanted to talk to you guys about how Jesus delivered me from prostitution. And basically, it goes off from this 2-year relationship I was in. And yes, it was like really crappy relationship, and that was the reason why I asked Jesus to deliver me from it. So once this person got out of my life and went to jail, that's how he was removed. And it was God. I knew it was because I prayed, and God says if you ask, you shall receive. And most definitely I received. But in the midst of me receiving this, I was like a mess because I was with this person for 2 years. So I was crying, I was like a mess. So I ended up going to live with my parents, and at the time my parents was like in this hotel. So I went to go stay with them, and I felt so crappy still and so much of a mess. Like a mess. So basically, parents, they didn't even understand. I told them the story, I told them everything, how I felt that time, and it was so hard for me to understand what went on. Mind you, I asked the Lord for this. I asked him to remove this person. So after, I was so sad, and I guess the enemy put in my head that, oh, no one likes you, all this stuff, all these mean things. The enemy never has nothing good to say. Honestly, I was like this big old wreck, and I just kept like talking so bad to myself. Our own biggest critic, okay? And it was just the worst feeling of me asking God to take this person away, and then God takes this person away for many good reasons, not even bad, and mainly because I asked. So after that, I found myself in this like sad place, sad moment, and I decided to just, I guess something told me in my head like I should just go and, you know, find or go walk and get my mind off of things. That did not work out well, because right after I listened to some voice in my head or something or whatever I felt, and I went for that walk, I walked into the enemy's trap. Okay, so stayed where I was with my parents and let them nurture me with their kind words, because I wasn't saying kind words to myself. I was nowhere nice to myself. I was just saying mean things to myself up until I met this other person. And this other person, I know them. It was just another person. But they're saying all the right things to me, all the good things to me, and everything that I needed to hear that was not coming from my own mouth. So after I met this person, me and this everything together, and at the time and before, when I was in this 2-year relationship, I was smoking. And that means I was smoking marijuana, and I was smoking cigarettes. I was all messed up. I mean, tore up to the floor. If there was a bottom floor of the floor, all the way up. I was like, listen, honey. But so like, I was so messed up, and this person didn't see that in me. And yeah, I looked cute or whatever, I had my hair done or whatever, but inside I was just crap. I felt like crap. Time, you know, this person, when I walked down the street after I heard this voice, like, you know, just go out, just leave, get some air, and I walked into this person that said everything good to me, I ended up finding myself around people I like never been around, and I was like, I started to be around hopeless people like me. The thing is, when we lose sight of what we ask God for, we ultimately, the enemy's upset anyways, first and foremost, because we already asked the Lord for something, and yeah, he's already upset. And so after I forgot about what I asked God for, I literally walked into this trap. Like, you ever set up a little trap or a mouse trap and you just, a mouse go into it? Yeah, I was that trap. And I was that mouse that found that cheese into it, okay? And it was person, you know, we talked, we even did some sexual things that was unholy. transferring demons and spirits, me not knowing this. But this person probably knew it. Who knows, who cares? But at the same time, he made me feel good. And I couldn't make myself feel good at that time. So I started to trust in him like I trusted God, which was the biggest mistake. I started to believe everything he said, that was like the worst decision. And everything they say, not even, with a little bit of skepticalness, okay? Believing everything this person said and literally letting them lead me because they seen how lost I was. So basically, let me stop right there in that story. When the enemy catch you asking for something and God gives it to you, he is very upset because he sees right then and there that God has placed a seed into you that basically ultimately will make hell very nervous and mess up the devil's kingdom. And that's not what he wants at all. Okay, so ultimately we had this talk, and this talk was about my past relationship and how it made me feel, and like how I felt so, down with myself, like I wasn't nobody, which is what the enemy wants you to feel, like you are nobody. He wants you to feel like you're like him, crap, okay? And that is not what we are, okay? So that is what I felt. And the enemy was just having fun. I was basically in his playground. So from his trap into his little playground, he was having all this fun with me and laughing in God's face like, oh, haha, this is her right now. And let me tell you, me and this person that after we exchanged demons and all this sexual stuff and talked, and he was a stranger, mind you, a stranger. I met this person, right? And after this person I met another person. And that person did what I did. Basically smoked marijuana here and there. Well, a lot. I smoked marijuana every day. Okay? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And in between lunch, and in between dinner, and in between breakfast. Okay? So it was no break. Like none. It was no break. So broken. But at the same time, I felt like, this was the only medication that I was going to get to feel better. And huge wreck inside my head. Like, my head was just so messed up. So I met this other person, and this other person started smoking me up, and all that stuff. And we started exchanging demons, sexualness, and that's basically how it started. Because these people did what I did, and they were the opposite sex, of course. It wasn't a woman. So it was another person, and so on and so on that I had met, and she didn't do what I did. She did her own thing and her own drugs and whatever. But she was very older, very much wise, being Sandra, not judging no one at all. And I was just, okay, well, hi, yeah, I'm Sandra, this is what I do, hello. And like always telling my life story, because at the time I felt so broken. I just wanted to tell someone so that they could feel bad for me. And I didn't even feel bad for myself. So that they can lift me up, or just so that I can tell someone, because I had no one really to talk to at the time other than my parents, and I got tired of talking to them about my problems. So I wanted looking for someone else, and lo and behold, I found all these a plethora, like so much people to talk about my situation to. Not even were good listeners, but they all had their own issues and their own failures and their own problems too, which is something I wasn't even thinking about at all. Not even a little bit. So here I am meeting all these people, telling them all about myself, and not even realizing that I'm losing myself in the midst of telling everyone about myself. That, right? I decided to have another talk with this first person that I met. The first person that I said, remember, that was telling me everything I needed to hear. And it's not like the other people that I met after this person. And that first person introduced me to all these other people until it was just craziness. And basically, so after this person that was telling me all this good stuff, so is telling me, you know, something that I've never even thought about, something that I knew deep down inside that I shouldn't do it. I've never even thought about it. And I said to myself, well, why would I? And then again, something else also said in me, like, well, why wouldn't you? Since, you know, you're single now and you're just a wreck. Basically is what it said to me. And I'm like, within all, like, well, I am. I am a wreck. So I said, okay. I actually agreed to my own self, the devil, the spirit, the enemy, whatever you call it, was like in my head so strong to the point where I couldn't even hear my own thoughts. So I just said yes. And then this person that was saying all these nice things about me that I couldn't say to myself that I first met, it was mainly, the first thing I asked him to when I seen him was, did he have weed? Marijuana, guys. Yes. The earthly flower that is supposed to be a healer, that will dangle it in your face like, hey, here it is, come get it. You really want it, and this is what you gotta go through to get it. And of me being so dependent on marijuana, like, I depended on it with my life. And it was like, okay, let me go. I'll go and I'll do that. Okay, so after that, I had received my reward. Basically, a bag of marijuana. And it wasn't even the best. So after that, I just went, right? Woo-hoo-hoo, I was all high, whatever, right? And I started to think to myself, well, since I'm meeting gentlemen after gentlemen after gentlemen, and all they're doing is giving me all this weed, the enemy slipped into my mind that I should give them something back. They didn't even ask. So this is like really funny to me because they're not even asking for anything. It's me feeling like I owe somebody something. Like I owe them. Okay? And I didn't owe them nothing. Nothing. I owed it to myself to get myself right. And this is what happened, right? So after that, the next couple of people that I met, it started to be this exchange. And I'm going to tell you how that took off so wrongly in a few minutes. So let me finish this. This person, in the midst of me thinking like this person's really in my ear, like, and I'm guessing now that the enemy was like using this person as a pawn. And let me tell you something before I finish the story. The enemy jumps and uses people. He does not use things like a book bag, a light, a cup. No, he uses a live person, okay? A live being to manipulate you, to lie to you, to deceive you in any type of way. Remember, the enemy has nothing good to say. Nothing. Okay, he's an enemy for a reason. And he had nothing good to say. Okay, so after me and this person, we became like, you know, this first person I met, I'm talking about. And we became close. He started to like see all my weaknesses for what they are and started to like feed off of that, his energy. When I met this person, he was not all that. He was not cookies and cream. He was messed up from the lower up to. But like how I felt at the time, and you've met someone else that felt the way you felt, so basically a familiar spirit that like, okay, yeah, that's my soulmate, this is like somebody I'm supposed to be with, or God sent them to me. And it was like, because inside I was still broken. So this person is like in my ear, and I told him against me how I felt. Like, he's like, well, You know, he's bringing people to me that I've never seen before, people I've never met, and he's just introducing me to them. And automatically in my head, I'm like, you know, and they're passing me the blunt, and I'm in my head like, yeah. And this like enemy is using the same thing that me like dangling it in my face. Like, yeah, this person just did this for you. Because, like I said, I felt like crap. I felt like I was nothing. I felt like I didn't even deserve anything. So when somebody offered me a blunt, I felt like that was the best gift ever. Ever, I should say. Really ever. So after that, I was like, okay. This person offered me a blunt. This person, I owe them all something. So I'll hit them up on my phone. Hey, do you want to meet up? Da, da, da. Of course, they'll have the same thing the enemy uses. Dependency, drugs. Okay? He uses that. You have to give these people back what they gave you. Mind you, these people didn't do anything but pass a blunt to me. So I'm thinking in my head, yeah. So I call them up and I meet with them, or him, or yeah, a different him or a different him, and giving myself up. And I felt good giving myself up at that time, mainly because I had no confidence within myself. Everything I was saying to myself was so mean, like said the most worst things to myself. So it really pushed me to go outside and just give myself up in a whole different way. I've never gave myself up before. And me instill different spirits in me. So each person I had intercourse with, or each different person I had intercourse with, they had something different to say about me. Bad. It wasn't good, of course. It was not good at all. They had something bad to say about me. And did I brush it off? Yeah, I was like, yeah, whatever. Because I'm already saying mean things about myself in my head. So it's all piling on like a dirty clothes pile. And you're just piling clothes. So everybody's just piling all these mean things about me to say. And I'm so high in my mind. Of course I don't care. Of course I'm like, oh, I don't care. I'm high. So it's like, okay, I'm looking at them like, yeah, I hear you. Into these demon, demonic spirits. I could barely sleep. I'm up like for 2 days straight, 3 days straight now. Okay. After, let me stop right there. The person that I first ran into is still in my life, and they're literally with me every single day. Like, they were with me 24/7. So it would look from the outside looking on and like, yeah, I was getting pimped or something, or I was getting pimped basically, because this person that I met knew everyone else that was introduced to me. And I never met them, but the person that I first met knew them and them to me. And it was like, okay. And at that time, everyone knows, you know, weed costs money. Okay? Unless you given what you was given, or you was giving what I was given. Okay? And that was a free body. Alright? And basically what I mean by free is, as long as you give me money to buy my marijuana, because that's what it went on. So after the marijuana was gone, and I rolled and smoked it up and puffed and it went gone, there was nothing left, not even money. So it was basically a free body I was giving. And so until I met this lady, and this lady started some way, somehow, I don't know, she was so, you know, messed up, and she was high herself. So I don't know how she started to speak life into me a little bit, here and there. She started, and I knew it was God speaking through her. God is so magical, so mighty. He will use a fan to talk to you. Why? Because here he created earth and he created heaven, okay? So if whatever he wants to use or say to you, trust and believe he's gonna get that to you. Whether it's a cup, a donkey, okay, anything, he's gonna get to you, and he's gonna get your attention. Point blank period. Alright, so this lady, right? At first I was listening to her like, she cannot be serious. She is high as a freaking kite right now. She can't be serious. And I'm thinking like, it's no one else around me, so she must be talking to me. Because I'm high too. And this was after I'm telling her my life story. So that was the only reason why. So this lady, right? I started listening to her. She started singing. And then, okay, let me stop right there. This lady speaks a little bit of life into me. I'm meeting other women here and there. And they're, you know, basically God's telling me through them, like, what are you doing? Why are you here? You know, and they're like, they don't know me. They're just looking at me, and then they're speaking to me. And I could be at a gas station, okay, like a woman will come up to me and she'll say something to me. And because I was always by myself until I go back to this person that I first met. Not the man, that something that I've never heard, basically. And that's what God will do. He will get your attention by any means. And that's how God got my attention. He got my attention. Don't you see a dark cloud around him? And I was like, and I did see, like, you know, God will show you things and you won't know. You really won't know until you sit down and actually analyze it. And at that time, I was gonna go. I didn't want to sit down, analyze anything. I didn't want to think about anybody, what they said, nothing. I was just gone in the wind, gone. Like, if you try to tell me, change your life, okay, I'll see you soon. You know, that type of attitude. That's something where it just took my breath, I guess. It took my breath, and I just was like, well, I do see this dark cloud around this person. And it wasn't just right then and there. It was ever since, I couldn't even, when I first met them. And the enemy will put a blindfold around your eyes, around your face, so you won't see who you really are. And obviously that's what I had, like this blindfold over my face. I couldn't even see that this is what I asked God. And it was only because the enemy always tried to take our focus, our communication off of God. He's always trying to take our focus off of God by any means. It could be a ticket for $1 million. If that could take our communication from what made us, Jesus, then so be it. You got that. And it would be the best $1 million you ever had, but it will go so quickly and it won't even work out right because it's not God-given, right? So everything that I went through in my mind, it was good. It was fine. It was like, oh, because I was high. I was under the influence, okay? Being high, you're not in the right state of mind. In smoking weed, you're not in the right state of mind at all. You can look it up. You can do other stuff. Ultimately, your mind, you may be more relaxed. You're still replacing that with what's really there, okay? With really what you have inside. Unless you really have Crohn's disease or something wrong with your eyes or something like that. Or you really have a serious condition. You're literally altering your mind state, okay? You're not going to be who you are. And that allows other demons to come into your life and just try to pick with you in different ways. So, okay, this lady, she continues, right? And I'm like, I'm noticing, like, she just said something that I see. Like, I really see this cloud over this person's head. And she's telling me also, well, see yourself safe with this person. And she's like, do you see that dark cloud? He's not meant for you at all. I'm just staring at her like, are you and I'm just breathless at the same time. And I'm just staring at her and I'm like, are you serious right now? So it even brings my high down. So at this moment, I'm just, for one, ticked because, you know, and it's something that I ignored myself. So that was God taking off that blindfold from me. And after he took off, noticed like all the stuff that I've been through with him. Like, it was an episode, right, in my prostitution mess where I was with this guy. A couple of them had, you know what, and it was their form of protection. Um, it was around me. And let me remind you, when you ask God for something like I done, I asked God to remove this man that I was with for 2 years away from me. He went to jail. The devil was so upset. He decided to continue to try to get me out of the game, which is kill me. Okay, so a couple of them. So this one episode, let me continue telling you. This one episode, this man, he pulls out his little thing. Okay, he pulls this out, places it on a table, and I'm like watching him because, you know, I don't know what's going on. I'm just noticing, you know, like, okay, this is a weapon. Okay, this is a serious weapon. Alright, people are dying by this weapon. Alright, so in this moment, I'm feeling like, well, if I don't do what he says, and this is the enemy in my mind, because this is what he started doing from the start. If I don't give these people something from passing them passing me their blunt, because I already felt like I don't deserve nothing. Life itself, I didn't even deserve. So if I don't, you know, do what I had to do with him, that was gonna meet, you know, me. So it was all in my head, but I was looking at it physically, sitting there on a table. He undressed, I undressed, did what we had to do, and went on. And I went and got faded, is what they say. High, faded, zoomed it, whatever. I was like this, okay? And made me feel even worse. After that episode, it was another episode. To the point where I was with the first, listen guys, the first person that I met, I was with them in their car, and I got met by this again. And it wasn't even the person that I was walking down the street on this nice day and I happened to meet them. It was just, he was driving, you know, in his car, and here I am in the passenger side, and a different man that I was fornicating with, prostituting, actually giving something and receiving cash money. Okay, didn't even matter the price, high or low. It was even money, to be honest. Some of it was what I needed at the time. I didn't needed nobody, not no God, not no nothing. I just needed to smoke, and that really do not need to smoke. What you need is air. You need to breathe. You need water. You do not need to smoke, inhale anything. I mean, if that was the case, why do firefighters go up into a building, a burning building, with all this gear? Because they don't want to inhale smoke, and it can ultimately kill you. And the enemy wants to kill you very slow, not fast, like how I thought, because that's how paranoid I was. He wants to kill your mind and sever your communication with Jesus slowly and surely, and to the point where you just felt like how I felt at the time. Trapped. Like, okay, here I am in this state of mind, and I have all these entwined demons in me, and I felt like I just wanted to end myself. Up until that point where I met that lady I was telling you about, and he pointed it at me, and I was like, okay. And he told me to shut up. And this man that I was with in the car, you know, he didn't do anything. He just was quiet. He was quiet. He didn't even do anything. So I'm like, okay, well, this is like, okay, interesting at all at the same time, because that's how I am. I'm sarcastic, and it was just a mess. I was a mess. When I said I was tore up, there was nothing you could tell me to save yourself. It was just nothing you could tell me at all. So after, you know, I was met by this, he didn't pull the trigger, you know, and it was just crazy. I felt like, you know, it was better off if he did, because he pulled it out on me, not the man that was sitting next to me, me. Like he was trying to scare me or something. So the enemy knew that he couldn't kill me like this, okay? So why not scare me with it? And that's what the enemy was doing. I was in his playground. Remember, like I said earlier, I was like on the slide with him, then I was on the swings with him, and then I was on this, you know, it was sad. It was just all sad, and God was crying through it all. He was like, how? Why? And he was like, you know what? Him being the amazing, graceful, grace meaning, listen, if you had said something that made Jesus cry or made him upset, Grace came by and she said, okay, I'm gonna remove that and put that in the garbage, okay? You didn't say that, and I'll forgive you for that. And that's what type of God we had. If it wasn't for his grace and mercy, Mercy was my brother, okay? There was times where a bullet was shot at me and it missed me. And it wasn't just one. It was many bullets. Why? I was in the enemy's playground. I was probably in the sandbox. Like, yeah. All these bullets come past me, and here I am talking to you. If it wasn't for my brother Mercy that came in and sat in front of me, so all of those bullets missed me, of course. If it wasn't for my brother and my sister Grace, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. And if it wasn't for God, my Father, I wouldn't be able to tell you this testimony without breaking down and crying and basically being a hot full mess. So after I had met, you know, this from this other person, like he was waving it in my face and everything, just to wave it in my face, and then put it right in his pocket, went to his car and drove away. And I knew it was because I wasn't going to do anything with this person. I felt how I felt at the time still, like I had my own little ways and feelings, like, oh, I'll do this, and if I want to do this again, I do that. If I want to do that, I do that. And that's how my mind was. Like, it wasn't no stability. It was just a plain wreck. No pattern, no nothing. I couldn't even go to bed. It was no bedtime for me. It was no sleep. Night was day, and day was just day. Okay? I slept here and there when I felt like it. Or even in the midst of me doing all that mess, I was just ecstasy. And that was part of the reason why I had no stability in what I was gonna go to bed, or if I was gonna stay up, you know, and it was just a mess. So all that stuff that God delivered me from, yes, delivered me. And after all that stuff, I ended up deciding to myself, like, I couldn't get that thought out my head that I kept seeing this every time. And I said, well, something is taunting me with this. Somebody was just keep on bothering me with a gun, okay? It just kept getting showed to me in my face, to the point where I just felt like, you know, why not just kill myself? Kill myself. So I ended up calling my dad. And my dad, I ended up telling him this story. And my dad at the time, when I was going through that phase, like I was in 3, right? At the time, my oldest was 5 and my youngest was 2. And it was going on his 2nd birthday. I missed that birthday because I was so high and I didn't want him to see me like that. Poor excuse, poor character, poor mommy, poor baby. The whole thing was sad, okay? It was a mess. I was a mess. So I missed my second son's 2nd birthday, right? And I felt even worse about myself. So that was how it ended up, to the point where I was like, okay, I need to go. Okay, my parents was taking care of them at the time, so they weren't with anyone else. But at the time, I felt like I had to go. Okay, this was my time. It's time to leave this earth. They taken care of. I already did my duties. And how I knew that the Lord was, of course, I mean, the heading says prostitute was a prostitute. So I didn't always meet somebody who exchanged to me money or what I needed. Sometimes they just wanted to use me, and they actually, it was a person that handed me fake cash, okay? Like 100, 200, 300 was fake, was not real, okay? It was just fake, and I almost went to jail for that time. Okay, I had called my dad, and my dad was like, a hospital, he brought that up. And I knew it was God speaking to him, through me, to me, it was God, because this is where the deliverance came from. It was on my mind. God kept having people come up to me, and less people that wanted something from me around me. Like, I wouldn't find anybody to fornicate anywhere, and all I wanted was weed. I didn't care what I had to give. I didn't care what I had to do. I even met this guy. He was smoking the worst drug, I feel like, on the planet. The worst, okay? I was in a car with him. And through the grace, like I said, grace and mercy was with me. If it wasn't with me, things would have ended very badly. And I would not be talking to you. And the person that I was with, that I know was smoking the worst drug ever, was really normal. But I knew what he was doing was not normal at all. He even passed by the police while I was in the car, not giving a flying duck. He didn't care if a duck flew by. So, God even used this man that was high out of his brain cells to speak to me and tell me, why am I walking around in the streets? Why? And I'm like telling him, because I'm homeless, because I'm this. And at the time I was homeless. That's why I went and stayed with my parents, because before all of this prostitution mess, I would, like I said, was staying with someone else. And I asked God to take this person away. And so it just started from there, train wreck. And then so, I call my dad, and my dad, he tells me hospital would probably be good for you. And I'm thinking, okay, well, he's saying this because he heard that I was popping my body out to different random people, okay? Random people I was giving myself to. And I just thought that, because he was already had his demons inside of me, doing all this weird, unhumane. It's literally unhumane. It's not human to go and randomly give your stuff to someone you have never laid eyes on before. Okay? So, but that was me. Hello. I'm here. It was me. Okay? I went and met that random person, didn't know and didn't care what they had to carry. If they had a HIV, if they had the clap, whatever, if they had whatever, as long as you got what I need, like. And a lot of people raised their eyebrows, said so much mean stuff. I just didn't care. That's how bad it was, like, and that's how high I was. So you could be so high off of marijuana. Yeah, I guess it's that's what it could do. If it can calm you down, then ultimately it can calm a lot of things down, like your feelings, your self-worth. And it's not going to do it quickly, because this is the enemy's lettuce, okay? He's the one that gave it, okay? It's literally man-made. And yeah, it's grown, but who takes care of that? Not God. He doesn't take care of that, okay? Man goes in and they fix up the crop and they do all that stuff, okay? And that's what the enemy was doing, handing that stuff to me, to the point where I just felt like, and I couldn't even get this high new. I couldn't even get the weed anymore from anywhere. Like, I used to call, like, my old weed man. I used to, like, offer them stuff, even though I had the money and even more money than what they were supposed to have from me for a bag. I even offered, and they was like, no, I'm not around, not, you know, the normal, the root of all evil, okay? That's what I used at this time. And I felt like, well, they must not want my money. When really they could have been thinking like, wow, she really needs help. I don't feel like going to see how sad she looks or anything, you know? And that was my problem. I cared about what, okay, well, I told my dad, well, are you sure? I'm not going to go to the hospital. Because my main goal in my mind was, I was tired of, you know, feeling worthless. I was tired of going place to place and not really, because my parents, they knew about what I was doing, and they didn't want me to come around either. They didn't want those spirits around them that had bottled up in me. They didn't want to see how sad their precious daughter looked. They didn't want to see or be a witness to any of that stuff. One thing I did do was just give them money to take care for them with my kids, and it was not enough, of course, but the enemy, like, this wasn't good. Like, I still had that little part of me that said, this is not good, Sandra. What are you doing? Your kids misses you. All types of this stuff, right? I ignored it because I'm high up as a kite, and I ultimately ignored, right? So my dad gives me this day, and he's like, oh, well, you know, we should just, you know, go to the hospital and tell them, because I'm telling him I'm suicidal at this point. I don't want to be here. And he's listening to it, and I can literally see the pain, the sorrow in his eyes from me telling him this. And I'm not even caring still, because I'm telling him because I'm high. Like I was telling everybody else my life story while I'm high. Through the grace of God, thank you, Jesus, that I'm not like that and I don't smoke or hide, looking at my dad like, what is the hospital going to do for me? Not knowing this is Jesus calling me out, telling me this is where I will take you to a place, and there I will deliver you. There I will send for you. I will come for you. And I will take you to a place that I have prepared for you. And it's not nobody else that's going to come with you. And that's how bold God is. Let me tell you something right there. Let me stop. I know I keep saying, and he is so bold, and he is a vengeance God as well. If you think in your bank account, he'll take it away. Within, like, you seen lightning, it just strike, and he'll do it like that. That's how magical he is. And like that house, it can come down, you know. It might even be made of bricks. It still could come down. All right. So that car, yeah, he can take that too. The wheels will just fall off. You don't even know how. That is how God will work. He will do anything to get our attention. Ultimately, that's what he had done. He took the weed away from me. I couldn't even buy it. I had the money, no resource. All of a sudden, I remember I used to smoke breakfast in between, lunch in between, and then dinner, and then all night. So it was weird to me that time that I couldn't find anything. But Jesus, that he delivered me, his glory, his mercy, and his grace saved me, traveled with me through that way, right? And so let me go back to the story of my dad. My dad told me I should go to the hospital, and I'm like, yeah, fine. I mean, after all I already done to myself, and after all, nevertheless, I didn't have any more weed to smoke, and that's what happened. That's how he delivered me. He took it all from me. And if he has to take it from you to get your attention, please do not think because you worked for it, you've got it yourself, or something had gave it to you, and you're so sure, like you're holding it in your hand type of, he will never take it away. No. He'll take it right out your hand. Okay? Literally, you could be staring at it, you turn around, or you're looking at it, it's gone. Okay? It's gone. So, you know, trust me, it'll be good that you go, and plus you get yourself checked out. That's how I knew, like, I'm like, well, my dad knows. And of course, I didn't go around my children, my 2 kids, at that time. So it was like, well, you know, well, children, and that was the only little bit of inspiration that I had to go off. And what God seen is that as long as I had a little bit of faith on what my dad said, which is not what my dad actually said, it's what God had said and told him to say to his daughter, me. Because remember, I wasn't listening to what you had to say, no one had to say. I was just doing me. And that's all I cared about at the time, years ago. And I'm like, well, fine, it's the least I can do. And then you're my dad. I can respect that just a little bit, because you're not saying everything else that, especially the mean things that I said to myself in that time. He wasn't saying what other people were saying bad about me. Like, people used to really come up to me and say some crazy stuff to me, and I was so high, I just did not care. And that is what the weed will do to you. Don't you want to care? Just a little bit. Not about what people say, but about important things. Yeah, I didn't even care about important things high. And being high off of marijuana, CBD, whatever you say, will definitely take that care away from you. It might not take it like that, but it will take it away from you slowly and surely, and like as slow as a snake in the grass moves, like the enemy, of course, like the devil. And that's how the enemy kills you. Everyone knows that inhaling smoke, and it might not do it now, and hey, it might not do it later, but it will do it. Okay, and that will be the cause of it. If you are a smoker, okay, it will be there. Words in the Bible, like, wow, he started to tell me, this is what I have done for you. And not in those exact words, but with each passage, it meant a little something, and it had said a little more things to me. And that's what the Bible is. It's a living word. It's God, okay? That Bible that is sitting in the corner, that bookshelf, collecting dust, it is the living word. It's alive. I can tell you, if you open it up and read one scripture, it will be speaking to your soul. And you probably will feel very good after reading it, if you believe. If you don't, then it'll be like, well, what the heck am I reading, and what is that? If you're so full of yourself, or if you don't believe in God, my Father, or Jesus, okay, which basically make you an atheist. I decided to go to a rehab, and in that rehab, is in New York, and I'm from Connecticut, so it just was like, well, how am I gonna see my family? Because at the time in psych ward, people could come visit you, but in New York, my parents didn't have a car. They just had Jesus and my kids. They didn't have a car. All right, so they couldn't come visit me there. But I was there for 2 months, and it wasn't. And rehab is basically, a place for addicts, really hardcore addicts, like drug addicts, alcoholics, and all that kind of stuff. So after that, I just started to feel out of place, because it was like 1 month going by, and I'm like in this place with these people that I've never met before. And when I say they're true hardcore people that were really going through hard, worse times than me, I mean, they actually witnessed their child dropping from a 3rd-story window and not being able to make it, type of hardcore things that they were going through. Stories that in rehab that they tell you, because you have to share your life to get over things. You have to share things that bother you, that you're trying to keep inside. Like, the enemy tried to stop me from sharing this video because of all the doubt. And don't nobody that sees this video have a heaven or a hell to put me in, so why would I be, ashamed? They can't do anything for me. I can do so much for myself, and Jesus can do so much for me. He does everything for me. So, in that case, the enemy tried to stop me from sharing this video, or sharing how my experience was, and how God delivered me from that, and ultimately how he took all that stuff away from me. And if you ask, you receive. At that time, I wasn't even able to open my mouth and ask, because I had all these spirits covering my mouth. I couldn't speak. I couldn't say anything to help myself. So at that time, I just was like, okay, well, I give up, God. I surrender myself. And that's what I did. I listened to what my daddy said. It was the best thing ever. I started to hear God's words, and the rehab was the next step. And let me tell you where that next step it landed me at. My own place, okay? And yes, it started from me actually entering to a hospital, being so vulnerable, telling them like, yeah, this is what happened to me, and this is what I'm going through, and yeah, I do feel like this, and yeah, I do feel this worthless, and yeah, like, you know, I had to. And after I did that, I started to see myself change in the mirror. My skin was brighter. My smile was like brighter. My life was just unfolding in my eyes, like in front of my eyes. And I started to understand, like, God started to say, here, I am doing a great thing. I kept seeing that word everywhere. I'm doing this great thing with you. This is your testimony. You have to tell people, this experience does not belong to me. It belongs to the person that is watching, okay? You. Alright? And if you're going through this, it's okay to seek help. And it's okay to tell somebody what you're really going through or what you have been through, because you're saving someone. Your past failures do not belong to you. You know, it's a failure. You failed that season for a reason. Alright? It rhymes because it's true. You failed that season for a reason. Alright? And it's not like you're never going to get picked back up, okay? Because God is a redeemer. That means he will put you not in the place you was, but in a better place. Okay? So yeah, now in my own place, that's a different story, another video. And I've been celibate and single for about 4 months now. And booking. So that's a different video too. So, and I had got that cigarette issue not from my prostitution or being with other people. Like, I had picked up the pill popping ecstasy part. It was from that 2-year relationship where, you know, that was going on, all types of stuff was going on. And that's where I got the cigarette issue from. So it's like, God was showing me all these men, which was my big issue, because my dad, he's not my real dad. He's my stepdad. And the enemy knew that he can use that against me. The enemy knows you, but God knows you, and he knows why he made you. He knows what you're here for. Okay, the enemy don't know all that. He don't. He ultimately just knows your failure, and he just wants to use it against you. Okay, he doesn't want to see you deliver anybody else with your testimony, or what you went through, or what you're going to get out of. He just wants to make you feel like how I felt. Crappy. Less of human. Okay, yeah, I had skin and warm blood, but I did not feel human. That's because at the time I was doing inhuman things, like, you know. But through the grace of God, he found me, and he will leave all the rest of his people to come find you. That he will do, because he made us. Okay, he won't find someone who's not willing to answer his call. But if you answer it, oh, he's gonna come find you, okay? Like, really find you and pick you up and put you where you need to be, okay? And can't nobody stop that. Not a hell, not no demon, not your ex-boyfriend, not his big mama, not his mother, his father, not anybody, not a gun, okay? Not a knife, okay? None of that can't stop what God is doing for me or for you. So this is my testimony. This is your girl Sandra. I know this was so long, but hey, I had to get it out and help the next person. My testimony of God delivering me from prostitution. Yes, I said prostitution. Okay, give and give. Exchanging, okay, which is not good unless you're exchanging a Bible, or you're exchanging good words, not fortune for a body part, okay? That's not normal. That is why I didn't feel normal. But God said, you're done with that, because it's what he says and not what we say. Amen. And I just wanted to tell you guys that story. I have plenty more stories to go. Okay, so I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video, and thank you for listening. Subscribe, hit that